Really nice verse from the Bhagavatam in the Uddhava Gita. Actually, I've been memorizing some Uddhava Gita verses because they're very, very essential to actually understanding what we're doing. You know, these are the most confidential teachings of Krishna in the Bhagavatam. And one of them, having to do with our subject matter today, is why fear arises. Anyone ever get fearful in life?
Why fear arises?
Fear, yes. Why fear arises. Anyone have any fears? Yes, if you have fears, there's one issue. And actually Krishna, he reveals what the issue is in the Uddhava Gita. And he said, it is actually ignorance. But what is that ignorance will be explained. It goes like so, Bhayam dvitiya biniveshatasya ishadapetasya viparyayo smriti tanmaya yato buddha abhajetam bhaktiaika yesham gurudeva tatma. And why does fear arise? Since Bhayam is fear. Dvitiya means dualism, meaning seeing things as separate, instead of Advaita, which is monism, understanding the reality of God's one nature. Everything in existence is actually God acting. You know. So, and abhiniveshata is being absorbed in dualism. So being absorbed in separate things. Maybe absorbed, why is this not working? My career's not working how I want. My relationship's not working how I want. My job's not working. Nothing's working how I want. Why? Because we are separating things from what's really the reality, Advaita, which is God. Everything is God. And the only thing that matters is our relationship with God. And so, but we prioritize so many things. And what happens when we do that? Fear arises, because we cannot balance, we cannot control all these things. We can't control almost anything. And so naturally, we start getting fearful that, oh my God, this is going to fall apart, and this is going to fall apart, and so is this, and this is all falling apart, and what do I do? So it tells you what to do. And so this, and siyat means arises. So then, why it arises is this next line. Isha apetasya viparya smriti. Isha is the controller. Apetasya, we've turned away from the controller. We've turned away from God. Viparyayo, and we've misidentified who we are, actually. We're thinking, I'm the controller, I'm the master, I'm the enjoyer. And asmriti means we've forgotten. We've forgotten what is the actual reality. So what to do? How did it happen? Tanmaya, through his illusory energy, through the Maya, his Maya, through his illusory energy, yato, therefore, what do? Buddha, the intelligent, those with a brain. Buddha, abhajet, should worship Tam, him fully. Him. We should worship him, that controller. How? Bhaktiaika yesham. With loving devotional service. Isha, Bhaktiaika yesha, is Isha, the controller, unto that controller. And actually, Bhaktiaika, eka, means one-pointed, focused, with one-pointed focus unto the controller, Isha. Bhaktiaika yesham, how? Through the guru, through the teacher. Guru Deva Tatma, who's actually one's Lord and soul. So this is what Krishna is telling in why fear arises. And it's mostly because we have forgotten what really the reality is, and we're absorbed in dualism, and really because we're not taking guidance from a bona fide teacher. This is why. Who's leading us to one-pointed bhakti. So this is what the bona fide teacher will do. So Krishna actually reveals this in Uddhava Gita. But it has to do with why we ever may think that we're not protected, or our interests or everything's falling apart, or our life's falling apart. No, everything is good. Everything is just as it should be. The Lord has made everything perfect, actually. But what is our conviction? You know, are we convicted towards dualism? If we're fearful, yes, the answer is absolutely. But if you are convicted towards really the Lord, if you turn towards the Lord, there's nothing to fear, actually. But you have to find yourself checking yourself. Oh my God, I'm afraid of so many things. I'm afraid so many things are not going to work out how I want them to. This is dualism, actually. So this can be our something to meditate on, something to work with. So anyhow, Emperor Parikit is a great example of somebody who is protected by the Lord. The last verse said, the Brahmin, first let's do this properly. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyam Tato Jayam Mudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer their respectful obeisances on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantas Lohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Sarhitsatam. Shri Krishna, who is the Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of each living entity, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desires of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed. And love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So actually that verse is the remedy to our fearful condition. Oh no, I have so many troubles, how am I going to get out of my troubles? Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, actually. Eternal service to the Bhagavat. That means hearing the messages of Krishna, and hearing both through the book form in the Bhagavatam, and through the personalities in the Bhagavatam, and then in the person form, who's someone who's actually honestly transmitting the Bhagavatam. This is a Bhagavat. So if we, and we serve them, remember, Tadvidi Pranipatena, we humbly go before them. Pariprashnena, we ask them relevant questions. And then next Sevaya, we serve them. So this is Bhagavad Gita 434. So anyhow, yes, hear Bhagavatam and participate in the process, as well. Questions should be clarified as well. And then also, you guys, many of you are already quite good at this service unto those transmitting the Bhagavatam. We're trying honestly to transmit the Bhagavatam. We've invited guests who we know will transmit the Bhagavatam more authentically than we can. But this is a very important part. Actually, I was listening to a lecture. I listened to lectures while I exercised this morning. Actually, I never like to exercise in front of anybody, because they seem like a little silly. Like one exercise, I'm spinning around like a helicopter. Except this morning, though, Tulsi Das has a very strange schedule. I thought I could come up here before anyone else was awake, and I said, okay, I'm alone. And I'm in mid-spin, and the next thing I know, I see Tulsi Das walking through the window while I'm spinning, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stop and ruin the exercise. And Tulsi Das comes in the door, and I'm spinning around, and he's trying to have a conversation with me while I'm spinning. And I was just thinking to myself, Tulsi Das, please leave me alone. Yes. So anyhow, I don't know why we're even talking about such things. What was the point of that?
Lectures during exercise.
What's that? I was listening, to my lectures during the exercise. Thank you, madam. So I was listening to my lecture, and Prabhupada was pleading with the people. The name of the lecture was Krishna over Karma. And he was pleading with people. If anything, he's given a whole process here where we offer prasadam, we sing before the deities, we dance before the deities, we chant the holy names of the Lord, if anything. But he said, just come here and hear about Krishna. If you do nothing else, just come and hear about Krishna. So actually, that's how important Bhagavatam is, because that's what it is. You're hearing about Krishna. So Prabhupada is even saying that not even, if anything, just chant the Maha Mantra. If anything, he's saying, if anything, just hear about Krishna. So that's how important this step is, That's why if people come, if they're not going to get up and do the Mangalarti or so, actually, we just started. Today was the first day we got up kind of early and did Mangalarti. It was kind of like a revolution here at the ashram. But we got up and did the Mangalarti pretty early for us lately. But even if no one is going to do all these things that we're asking, just come and hear about Krishna. That's the request of Prabhupada. And so this is this portion of the day. This is a very important part of the day, and it will give a great benefit. So, the Brahmin said, the last verse we did was 16. The Brahmin said, the spotless sun has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. In order to oblige you, he was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. So he's saying that Vishnu saved, the Brahmin said to Yudhishthir. He said, Vishnu saved your son in order to oblige you, so that you render service unto him, and you actually train this king, this boy, to be a devotee of the Lord, which they did. And actually, Emperor Parikshit became such a great devotee of the Lord, who's the main characters of the Bhagavatam. I'll give you a hint, he's one of them. Emperor Parikshit, he is the one without his questioning. It takes two to churn out nectar about Krishna. It takes the bona fide Shiksha instructor, someone who can give instructions about Krishna, that's Shukadev Goswami. He's representative of that green parrot over there on the altar. And that's his spiritual form in the spiritual world, actually. And then the other one is Emperor Parikshit, who's the bona fide Shishya. He is showing you exactly what one should do in order to make advancement. And that's what Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita, Pariprashnena, asking relevant questions to someone who's more advanced than oneself. So they're saying right here, in order to oblige you, he was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. So Vishnu saved him, you must make him a devotee of Vishnu. That's what the Brahmins are essentially telling Yudhishthir. And then we'll continue on today. Tasman namna Vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga mahabhagavato mahan. Tasmat, therefore, namna, by the name, Vishnu Rataha, protected by Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Iti, thus, loke, in all the planets, Bhavishyati, shall become well known. Na, no, Sandeha, doubts. Mahabhaga, most fortunate. Mahabhagavata, the first class devotee of the Lord. Mahan, qualified by all good qualities. Where'd Piyush go? Translation. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. So this is the prediction of the Brahmin, because he was saved by the Supreme Lord. There's no doubt he will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Prabhupada is saying the Lord gives protection to all living beings because he is their supreme leader. The Vedic hymns confirm that the Lord is the supreme person amongst all personalities. The difference between... What?
I was just going to ask if you could zoom in.
Oh, it's a little difficult. That's a little too much, huh? That's perfect. That's as deep as it goes right there. Oh, now I messed up. Okay. All right. Where am I? The Vedic hymns confirm that the Lord is the supreme person amongst all personalities. The difference between the two living beings is that the personality of Godhead, provides for all other living beings, and by knowing him one can achieve eternal peace. The Katha Upanishad states this. Such protection is given by his different potencies to different grades of living beings. But as far as his unalloyed devotees are concerned, he gives the protection personally. So the Lord is actually protecting all living entities. But depending on their relationship with him, he gives special attention. This may seem like he's actually he's partial, but he's actually not partial, because what is he doing? He's fulfilling everybody's desires. You know, if a monkey is only thinking about sex life, which monkeys tend to do, the Lord provides female monkeys for and other monkeys so they can go and do that, no problem. But if the human being, he wants to, you know, work in the world of finance, the Lord provides an arena that he can get in the world of finance, no problem. Eventually it'll happen. But if the devotee wants the Lord, and they want the Lord's personal care, attention, protection, well, of course, he fulfills everybody's desires. The quality of your desires makes the quality of your life, actually. If you have quality desires, you'll have a quality life, because the Lord fulfills your desires. You have to make sincere endeavors for your desires. You can't be, oh, I desire this, but I shall do nothing about it. It'll just come. You know, like maybe you've heard, even the Christians, they tell this story about how God, some man had a deep faith in God, and he was there was like an evacuation, there was a big storm coming, and he's like, no, God will save me. God will save me. They say, come on, please, the storm is coming. And then, no, God will save me. And next thing you know, the whole town floods. He's on his roof. And then they come with a boat, and they try and rescue him. No, God will save me. And then he's, finally at the very tip of the roof, and it's really going to be the end for him. And they come in a helicopter. Come on, we've come to rescue you. No, God will save me. And then he dies. He drowns because he's stupid. And the stupid man, he goes up to the pearly gates, and they say, why did God not save me? I had so much faith in him. He's like, well, I sent you these people to tell you about the problem here. I sent you this arrangement here with the boat. I also sent you the helicopter, but you didn't take my help. So this is actually, we have to make some endeavor. We can't just, God will not, will just do every single thing. We should always depend on the Lord, but at some point we also have to make an endeavor on how we're going to surrender to the Lord. So anyhow, this is... what's that? Exactly, it's supposed to do something, it's actually supposed to render service, So if you don't protect the vessel and try and use it in service, actually there's a laziness that actually we use this. Our body and, everything should be done for us. I'm the master. Everyone and everything around me should serve me. This is the tendency, actually, of the living entity. But anyhow, such protection is given by his different potencies to different grades of living beings. As far as his unalloyed devotees are concerned, he gives the protection personally. Therefore, Maharaj Pariksit is protected from the very beginning of his appearance in the womb of his mother. And because he is especially given protection by the Lord, the indication must be concluded that the child would be a first-grade devotee of the Lord with all good qualities. There are 3 grades of devotees. Ooh, this is a very nice subject matter. Namely, the Mahabhagavata, the Madhyamadikari, and the Kanishta Adhikari. Those who go to the temples of the Lord and offer worshipful respect to the deity without sufficient knowledge in the theological science, and therefore without any respect for the devotees of the Lord, are called materialistic devotees, or Kanishta Adhikaris, the 3rd grade devotees. Secondly, devotees who have developed a mentality of genuine service to the Lord and who thus make friendships only with similar devotees, show favor to the neophytes, and avoid the atheists, are called the 2nd grade devotees. But those who see everything in the Lord or everything of the Lord, and also see in everything an eternal relation of the Lord, so that there is nothing within their purview of sight except the Lord, are called the Mahabhagavats, or the 1st grade devotees of the Lord. Such 1st grade devotees of the Lord are perfect in all respects. A devotee who may be in any of these categories is automatically qualified by all good qualities. And thus a Mahabhagavat devotee like Maharaj Pariksit is certainly perfect in all respects. So Prabhupada gave a very loose summary of what the levels of devotee are. The Kanishta Adhikari, another word for that, is a Prakrita Bhakta. So it's a materialistic devotee. So someone who is very much interested in worshiping the Lord for something that they want, So that means this is like they're like a newbie devotee, in the, how do you say, like they're just like, they don't exactly know their best interests, but they have some good sense where they know we should worship the Lord, we should do like this. And then when you actually understand more deeply the theological science, and then also you know how to interact with the devotees, so you make friendship with the devotees. There's proper ways to make friendship with senior devotees, and that's through submission, asking relevant questions and serving them. There's a way to make friendship in equal devotees, where you try and churn out each other's realizations and inspire each other and get inspired by each other. And the more newbie devotees, or more newbie than yourself, you try and help those devotees. Like, oh, come on, what are you doing sleeping at this time? Get up, it's better for you if you do like this. And you try and help them in a friendly way. I've over pushed it before, trying to help my junior devotees. But anyhow, this is the middle level devotee, and then ideally we somehow come across Mahabhagavats who are completely perfected devotees, and they see Krishna in everywhere and everything. They always see Krishna's hand in all aspects of life. They have no fears, they have no limited conception. They're totally immersed in the Lord and totally trusting the Lord in all that they do, and see the Lord everywhere. Devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, or even when the external forces of his father and the great demons are trying to kill him, he's fully trusting the Lord. This type of mentality in the Bible, and Jagadish sends me Bible verses, and I just take them, I forward them right to my dad every day. So how Krishna, and in Daniel in the Bible, he was thrown into the lion's den, but he trusted that the Lord would protect him. So these are the qualities of Mahabhagavats, where they're always seeing the Lord in all aspects of life. And they naturally will have no fear in their life due to this, because they're totally absorbed. Instead of Dvitiya Biniveshita, they're Advitiya Biniveshita. They're fully absorbed in the Lord, actually. So anyhow, it's in our best interest to work towards that, but not just try and skip towards that and thinking like, yes, I'm a Mahabhagavat, everything is Krishna, I can do anything and everything, and I can see Krishna in it. Because, no, that's a very bad idea. Because why? Because actually where we are is Kanishta. We're materialistic still. We have all kinds of material desires. Lust, greed, envy, all these things are there. So we should actually work through the process of the madhyam, if learning how to associate with the devotees, have proper relations and friendship with the devotees. What did he say here? To show favor to the neophytes, show favor to innocent people who don't know much about God or the Lord, but you can actually help them. Hey, why don't you come over, this, Tidra, Hare Krishna. So like this, and then actually avoid the atheists. A Mahabhagavat doesn't have to avoid atheists, actually. For those who are inimical, the Mahabhagavat knows how to associate with everyone and sees how the atheists, like for instance Haridas Thakur, he was persecuted by some Muslim rulership. What's that? Yes, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, he was persecuted by the Muslim ruling class. And they knew he was born in a Muslim family, but he's chanting the names of Krishna. So this was actually a very bad, in their eyes, a very bad circumstance. So they were, but he was like, everyone loved him because he was so much in ecstasy all the time. He's like this great sage walking around, just everyone's in bliss who associates with him. He's dancing in ecstasy, he's so happy. And just by associating with him, everyone's just captivated. But there was one ruler who he was jealous of him because the public loved him so much, Haridas Thakur. So he knew that he was a Muslim. So he said, I'm going to take you to the king. And so the governor took him to the king and said, look at this man. He's born a Muslim. He has a high birth as a Muslim. In the Vedic conception, it would be the other way. He is born a low birth. But anyhow, he's born a high birth as a Muslim. And just see him, what he's doing. He's chanting the names of the Hindu god. Krishna, Ram, all these things. So like this. And so Haridas Thakur, he didn't care for this at all. They told him to stop chanting Krishna's names. And he said, he gave nice theological philosophy. Actually, there is no difference between Allah and Krishna's name, and so there, one should not, he gave some nice theological science. I can't verbatim quote it, but basically, he actually conquered the heart of the king, but that governor, he was still so envious of him, and he says, "Are you going to take this? Are you going to let him, sway you? He's this, And so he convinced the king, by belittling him kind of, that you should punish him. What kind of king are you? And so what ended up happening was that they beat him in 22 marketplaces. Like brutally beat him, brutally. And so Haridas Thakur, he was still in ecstasy the whole time, getting his body beaten to a pulp. But he was just smiling in ecstasy. And then actually what happened is all the Muslim, what are they called? Guards who are beating him, the servants. They started getting fearful. If we don't kill him, we're gonna get killed. They give us an order and we can't do it. We're beating him every marketplace we can. Most people die after 3 or 4 marketplaces. But it's been 22 now. So then, they were hitting him, please die. And Haridas Thakur realized, he's oh, am I causing you pain by not dying? I'll die, no problem. And he drops dead. So then they're okay. So then I forget how it happened, but they tried to move his body. And they couldn't actually lift it. I can't remember if it was at that time or when they got to the Ganges. But actually, interestingly enough, in the Vedic conception, throwing in the Ganges is actually the best way to leave this world, with the body. But in the Muslim conception, if you don't get buried, it's like an abomination. So throwing in the Ganges is for someone you do to it's a very low thing in their eyes. So they wanted, the king wanted to respect him and offer him a burial. But the envious governor, actually, this is Krishna's hand and everything. It was no, don't do that. He's a lowborn, look what he does. He chants these Hindu gods. Put him in the Ganges where the gods he chants to would like him. So they tried to move him in the Ganges, but he was so heavy. All of the guards couldn't lift him together, and they were what's going on here? So after some time, he somehow all his weight was removed, and he went into the Ganges, and then he just revived downstream, walked out again, started chanting Hare Krishna and all of Krishna's names again, and then the governor saw him, and the king saw him, and this time, they were just shocked. What kind of personality is Haridas Thakur, actually? This is a true story. I mean, it was only 500 something years ago, 550 years ago, well recorded, but they were in shock. Who is this person? But this is a Mahabhagavat. They can't be understood by the atheists, and even he is no problem. And actually, if you asked later on, he said that the reason he had to get beaten was that he let this Muslim king belittle Krishna, and he didn't speak out so harshly against him. He tried to kind of appease him with a molding philosophy. They're saying oh, Allah, Krishna, it's all the same, no, he gave some nice, but he actually, his testament is that Krishna had him beaten because, but actually he didn't feel pain, and there's a pastime later on with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where it was revealed to Haridas Thakur Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turned around and he had like so many lashes on his back. And Haridas Thakur said, "Who has done this?" And he's like, "I took all of these for you when you were beaten in the marketplace." So years later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed this to Haridas Thakur. And but anyway, this is an example of how the Lord protects his devotees. Also an example of how the Mahabhagavats, even the atheists, they can associate with, and they can even get heavily persecuted, like Jesus Christ, put on a cross, nails through the hands and feet, and he could say, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." If someone put a nail through my hand, I would have a lot of choice words for them, but because I'm not Jesus Christ, right? But but Mahabhagavats are on a different level. But we just can't think, only a Kanishta thinks that they can just go and, "Oh, I'm a Mahabhagavat now, I can associate any which way." No, the Kanishta should realize the path of the Madhyam, and that this is the proper way to make advancement towards eventually, by Krishna's mercy, maybe Mahabhagavat is in your cards. But the thing with the Mahabhagavats is they're so humble that they never recognize themselves as Mahabhagavats. So they cheat everyone by making one think that they're not Mahabhagavats. So this is, anyhow, this is a nice description. This is actually, in the Uddhav Gita, this is very elaborately explained, the classifications of devotees. So anyhow, does anyone know which sentence I ended on?
Such first grade devotees, perfect in all respects. Devotee who may
Yes. Oh no, I saw all respects, but that's not it. Where, up or down?
Down 2 lines.
Here, such first grade devotees of the Lord are perfect in all respects. A devotee who may be in any of these categories is automatically qualified by all good qualities, and thus a Mahabhagavat devotee like Maharaj Parikit is certainly perfect in all respects. And because Maharaj Parikit took his birth in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthir, he is addressed herein as the Mahabhagavat, or the greatest of the fortunates. The family in which a Mahabhagavat takes his birth is fortunate because due to the birth of a first grade devotee, the members of the family, past, present, and future, up to 100 generations, become liberated by the grace of the Lord, out of respect for his beloved devotee. Therefore, the highest benefit is done to one's family simply by becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. So if you want to know actually how, if you really want to help your family, you love your family, you become a devotee of the Lord. And that doesn't necessarily mean, well, I have to be there in person rendering service to them how they'd like, because most of our family are not enlightened beings, so they'll have you doing things that are not enlightened. If I was staying at my family's house,
That's a very kind way to put that.
Yeah. If I was at my family's house, I would be cleaning up all the dog hair and making sure that the animals are fed all their meat pebbles and, everything like this. And, I don't know what else, helping them pay the bills and this, that, and the other thing. And, that's fine. Maybe, but it's not service to the. It's not nearly as glorious a service to the Lord. But if I actually become a servant of the Lord, and actually they're protected at death, the Lord will have great favor upon them. And actually, in this life, I've seen it in my life. Actually, even when I just started becoming a devotee, my father was recognizing I was becoming spiritual. And even though he wasn't going to do the same thing I was doing, he became very spiritual. Almost like a rebellion. Like, well, you're going to get spiritual in this way. Well, I'm going to double down on my religion. And he did, actually. He really doubled down, and I saw it. I saw it in his life. As soon as I just became like a Kanishta Adhikari, just started, worshiping and doing weird things. I was offering my weed to the altar. I was doing crazy things. I didn't know what I was doing. But anyway, things like this. But I saw he became very spiritual and devotional. And then over the years now it's melding more and more and we're coming on the same page. And I'm seeing in this life, even before I've died or anything, or I've done any real significant service, I'm seeing how much my parents and relatives are benefiting. And now we have this little devotee boy who will start running around soon. And I'm sure he'll start like telling them like funny things in little kid speak, and then they'll be like, "Oh, that was an enlightenment bomb," you know. And so that's my plan with him, to teach him all kinds of little things to tell the relatives, so that they actually get enlightened in some way.
Speaking in tongues.
What's that?
So the dad will think he's speaking in tongues.
I don't know what my dad will think, but but I hope he actually, and he will benefit them, and I think at some point he'll benefit me. That's one of our goals of having a devotee child, because you get benefit. Putra means, pu is what? The father, and tra is to free. So with putra, a true putra is a son. Putra means son. A true putra is one who frees the father, who liberates the father, delivers the father. So how do you do this? Become a devotee. Not only you deliver the father, if you become a... Nrsingadev, he says to Prahlad, when Prahlad asks for his deliverance of his father, he says, deliver your father, I'll deliver 21 generations due to your devotion. Why would you want to ask me to deliver your father? Your father's already delivered just by you being my devotee. So Nrsingadev says this to Prahlad Maharaj when Prahlad requests him to deliver his father. And so Prabhupada is saying here hundreds of generations. And there's some other scriptural reference, I'm not exactly sure where, in which hundreds of generations will be delivered for the Lord's devotee. But you'd have to become an unalloyed devotee. You know what that means, unalloyed? What? Not mixed, yes. Like a pure devotee. That is what really, really would benefit. If you're alloyed, like alloy metals or mixed metals, it's not a pure metal. It's like a titanium alloy. It's got maybe some aluminum or some other not so good stuff, tungsten, who knows. I don't know my metals that well. But if you're a pure devotee, you have to, there's a verse that describes what that is. It's anyabhilashita shunyam, means without material desires. Jnana karma dhyanabritam. So without the desire for pursuit in knowledge, karma, without any fruitive result, I want devotion. That means I want my career nicely, I want to have a nice wife, I want to have a nice child. All these things, trust me, in your devotional life, this can become a prominence in your devotion. Oh, the Lord, He gives me whatever I desire, and He takes care of me. That type of devotion actually won't give you the ultimate goal. And then adi is, renunciation. You could even become very proud of your renunciation. Or, I fast on every Ekadashi. Look, I can do this and all these things. And so all of these things actually have to be... Anavritam means your bhakti is covered by these things. So actually, what do we have to do? Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Mean that which is favorable unto Krishna's service. This is pure bhakti. Unless it's favorable to service to Krishna, it's not pure bhakti. So this is how we can navigate this. But let's continue reading. I spoke too long, so I will just chant three verses. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. That's offering obeisances to all the personalities that we do in our Mangalacharna normally. And then Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtya Deshatadine. And that is Srila Prabhupada's pranams. Shri Rajuvacha Apyesha Vamshan Rajarshin Punya Shlokan Mahatmanaha Anuvartitas Vidyashasa Sadhuvadena Satamaha Sri Raja, the all-good king, Maharaj Yudhishthir, Uvacha, said, Api, whether, Esha, this, Vamshan, family, Raja Rishin, of saintly kings, Punya Shlokan, pious by the very name. Mahatmanaha, all great souls. Anuvartita, follower. Svit, will it be? Yashasa, by achievements. Sadhuvarena, by glorification. Sattamaha, of great souls. The good King Yudhishthira inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family? Purport. The forefathers of King Yudhishthira were all great saintly kings, pious and glorified by their great achievements. They were all saints on the royal throne, and therefore all the members of the state were happy, pious, well-behaved, prosperous, and spiritually enlightened. Under strict guidance of the great souls and spiritual injunctions, such great saintly kings were trained up, and as a result the kingdom was full of saintly persons and was a happy land of spiritual life. Maharaj Yudhishthira was himself a replica of his ancestors, and he desired that the next king after him become exactly like his great forefathers. He was happy to learn from the learned Brahmins that by astrological calculations, the child would be born a first-grade devotee of the Lord. And more confidentially, he wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers. That is the way of the monarchical state. The reigning king should be a pious, chivalrous devotee of the Lord, and fear personified for the upstarts. He must also leave an heir apparent equally qualified to rule over the innocent citizens. Now, this won't be so politically correct or appreciated, but in the modern setup of the democratic states, the people themselves are fallen to the qualities of the Shudras, or less, and the government is run by their representative, who is ignorant of the scriptural mode of administrative education. Thus the whole atmosphere is surcharged with Shudra qualities, manifested by lust and avarice, which is greed. Such administrators quarrel every day among themselves. The cabinet of ministers changes often due to party and group selfishness. Everyone wants to exploit the state resources till he dies. No one retires from political life unless forced to do so. How can such low-grade men do good to the people? The result is corruption, intrigue, and hypocrisy. They should learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam how ideal the administrators must be before they can be given charge of different posts. So Prabhupada is actually, Yudhishthira, he's asking the Brahmins, which is the proper thing for the Kshatriya class to do, or the ruling class. They should always take the guidance of the Brahminical class. Actually, in anyone in life, even in our society, like for instance Mukunda just took Brahmin initiation. This is a result of Mukunda's dedication for years. It's not much different after the initiation ceremony and now today. But Mukunda has been a senior devotee now for some years. He's really committed himself and dedicated himself. So it's actually very natural that even in our spiritual society that, if someone's newer, hey, you can ask Mukunda, because Mukunda has been practicing for some time, So like this, but even like great kings of the world like Yudhishthira, they would take consult from the Brahmins. They would take consult from the spiritual leaders. This should be understood from us. We should take spiritual consult. Even myself, we ran into so many problems in trying to manage this project. Actually, Tanmay, you were here but you weren't privy to some of those things. But Ben, when you were here, you were more privy to some of the many problems that we were dealing with in trying to manage this thing. And actually, the reason we found ourselves in so many predicaments was actually we didn't have great consultation. And then we started getting consultation from senior devotees who have done this and have organized these types of projects before. It was like obstacles just thrown out of the way. Like, it was amazing, actually. So this is actually this is proper for anyone. We should, but the rulership class, the government, actually should be ruled under the consult of Brahmin administrators. Obviously, that's not happening now. Prabhupada said what is happening now. It's a popularity contest, and you have everybody's vote apparently matters, even though the Electoral College, it's a whole different thing. It's not really like that, but anyway, there's this great illusion that everyone's vote matters, and and everyone, no matter what opinion you have, whether you're as stupid as bricks or not to be mean, but like whether you are, not so well refined, but you should have a say about the leader of the government. But actually, Prabhupada is saying that the proper way is that there's certain deep spiritual qualities that should be there for a person who's going to take charge of leading others. There should be, actually God-ordained rules. But we separate church and state. And actually for good reason, because the churches have become so corrupt that it was necessary to separate the churches and the state. But this is actually, that's why Kali Yuga is most unfortunate. It's impossible to have good leadership with the current systems. So even, that's why Prabhupada tried to start an international society. But even in there, you see Kali Yuga tendencies can creep in like crazy. But by good fortune, we have a guidepost. We have the Bhagavatam. We have the instructions of the Acharyas. And then we also have many sincere of Prabhupada's disciples who saw how Prabhupada administrated when he was here and can show us how to administrate and rule things and run things properly. So these qualities are actually very important to understand, and even how we organize as a group. We have this small community, and eventually small communities become larger and larger and larger. So at some point there will be management. I'm already seeing, I don't have a job, but I have like a full-time job, because there's so much things to manage to make sure that all these things go properly. I like every ounce of my day is filled with activities here. For someone who has no job, that's odd. But it's not, because actually this is, management is a job. That's why I actually went to school for that. It's interesting. I went to school for it, and I was committed to dropping out of school and not using my education. And then Krishna is like, no, you'll use it. But you'll use it in a different way. So anyhow, I wish you guys the ability to take good guidance. This week we'll have great guidance here. We have Nrsinga downstairs, and he's gotten great training from his father. Is a Srila Prabhupada disciple, actually. I think his mother is as well. But also, he's been he had the association of Srila Narayan Maharaj, and for many years, and he is a disciple of Srila Narayan Maharaj. And then on top of that, they're currently taking guidance from Prem Prayojan Prabhu, who is a very intimate disciple of Srila Narayan Maharaj as well. So they're here. They're going to be in our midst throughout the week. So we could really benefit from Advanced Devotees Association, and it's not like we all are now subscribed, like, okay, well now I've this is my guru for the end of time. It could actually be like that if one became very inspired in such a way. But we can always appreciate senior Vaishnavas, and we can always appreciate their qualities, and we can learn so much. And I've personally seen in my life so much success has come when the blessings of the Vaishnavas, and especially our seniors, are upon us. So you have a good opportunity this week. You'll have some senior Vaishnavas here who can help us make advancement. So take the opportunity. I'm sorry they couldn't make it up this morning because they were in late last night, so they need to take some rest. But they'll be here throughout the week, and then we'll all go to the Experience Bhakti Retreat Friday through Monday. So to your capacity, I mean, if you have work and things like that, what can be done, right? Even myself, Sunday, I have to go to a wedding, so I won't make it. But Ben will be taking the van and still driving everyone. Yes, just to Auburn, not too far. But yes, no further. I'm very possessive of the van. It's my baby. Yes, Madhav.
Any chance you could read some more verses of the Bhagavatam?
Do we have time?
It's almost 9. It's 9 now.
Oh, why? Because the offering isn't done?
Offering will be a little more time.
This is like a historically long purport.
That's perfect.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to
Is that okay with you guys? I was totally being like, I'm just ending right now. All right.
Your friends reading the purport?
Yeah. Brahmanuchu
Brahmanuchu
Partha Prajavita Sakshad
Partha Prajavita Saksha
Ikshvakuriva Manavaha
Shvarima Manava
Brahmanya Satya Sandascha
Manya Satya Sandascha
Ramo Dasharathir Yatha
Moda Sharathiyata
Brahmanaha, the good Brahmins, Uchu, said, Partha, O son of Pritha, Kunti, Praja, those who are born, Avita, maintainer, Sakshat, directly, Ikshvaku Eva, exactly like King Ikshvaku, Manava, son of Manu, Brahmanya, followers, and respectful to the Brahmins, Satya Sandha, truthful by promise, Cha, also, Ramaha, the personality of Godhead Ram, Dasharathi, the son of Maharaj Dasharath, Yatha, like him. The learned Brahmin said, O son of Pritha, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following the Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Ram, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasharath. So Ikshvaku and Ram are no small historical characters, and Ram is one of the avatars of Vishnu. So, Ben, you want to read the first few sentences?
I can read a paragraph if you want.
Yes, but in case we have to break something down that's confusing.
Praja means the living being who has taken his birth in the material world. Actually, the living being has no birth and no death, but because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. In doing so, one becomes conditioned by the laws of material nature, and the material body is changed in terms of his own work. The living entity thus transmigrates from one body to another in 84 million species of life, or 8,400,000 species of life. But due to his being the part and parcel of the Lord, he not only is maintained with all necessities of life by the Lord, but also is protected by the Lord and his representatives, the saintly kings. These saintly kings give protection to all the prajas, or living beings, to live and fulfill their terms of imprisonment. Maharaj Parks, it was actually an ideal saintly king, because while touring his kingdom, he happened to see that a poor cow was about to be killed by the personified Kali, whom he at once took to task as a murderer. This means that even the animals were given protection by the saintly administrators, not from any sentimental point of view, but because those who have taken their birth in the material world have the right to live. All the saintly kings, beginning from the king of the sun globe down to the king of the earth, are so inclined by the influence of the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are taught in higher planets also, as there is reference in the Bhagavad Gita 4.1 about the teachings to the sun god, Vivashvan, by the Lord, and such lessons are transferred by disciplic succession, as it was done by the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to Maharaj Ikshvaku?
Ikshvaku, yes.
There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and the Manu referred to herein is the seventh Manu, one who is of the Prajapatis, those who create progeny, and he is the sun god. He is known as Vaivsatu Manu. He had 10 sons, and Maharaj Ikshvaku is one of them. Maharaj Ikshvaku also learned Bhakti Yoga as taught in the Bhagavad Gita from his father, Manu, who got it from his father, the sun god. Later on, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita came down by disciplic succession from Maharaj Ikshvaku. But in course of time, the chain was broken by unscrupulous persons, and therefore it again had to be taught to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So all the Vedic literatures are current from the very beginning of creation of the material world, and thus the Vedic literatures are known as aparuseya, not made by man. The Vedic knowledge was spoken by the Lord and first heard by Brahma, the first created living being within the universe.
Jai. So there's a lot there. A lot of it's talking about what the Manus are, You maybe saw that Maharaj Parikit, there's like a poor cow. That actually pastime is going to be relayed in a few chapters soon. And actually the cow is not, the cow and bull that are being abused are actually personify like demigods in the form of the cow and the bull. And there's actually a lot of symbolic meaning. Our 4 regulative principles will come from this part of the Bhagavatam actually. So we'll learn a lot there. There's right in the beginning there was something that was actually the living being has no birth and no death, but because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. So that's why we're here, because we have the desire to be the masters here. Like for whatever reason, we have the impression that I want to rule over this little section of the material universe, and whatever that is for you is unique. I'm the even the homeless man on the street. You can become very proud of their domain and this is my little. This is my corner, this is my place under the bridge, and we get very proud of the spot, myself, I can get very proud. This is my address, this is my house, all these things, right? So we have to realize that actually this nature is why we're here. But once we know, okay, what to do about it, you'll also learn that the Bhagavatam is a continuation of teachings to kings, primarily kings actually. So you actually learn about a lot of the royal family, and you see how the kings, and king is very important. Why didn't they give the lineage of Brahmins in the Bhagavatam? Actually, they don't really give the lineage of Brahmins in the Bhagavatam, but they give all the lineage of the kings. Why? Because the kings are who are ruling over society and who the whole people at the time they follow. And then 2, the kings are more relatable because Brahmins are very, they're very pious and they're very saintly, and they might react in situations completely different than a king would react in a situation. But if there wouldn't be so much to learn from how Brahmins react to every situation. Then when we're watching the kings react, they react in such a way in more human elements. Controlled by passion and anger and greed and lust and so on. So actually the Bhagavatam is filled with all of the different histories of different kings throughout ages. And actually it's given predictions of future kings into the future, which is really interesting. So anyway, now from here, Tulsidas. Madhav, how much time do we need here? Well, we can just also end in chant japa. Okay. So let me see how this is. We can do it. Tulsidas, read about Maharaj Ikshwaku.
Maharaj Ikshwaku, one of the sons of
Vaivaswata.
Manu, he had 100 sons. He prohibited meat eating. His son Sasada became the next king after his death. Manu, the Manu mentioned in this verse. Bro, you want to say something?
No, nothing too
The
important.
Manu mentioned in this verse as the father of Ikshwaku is the 7th Manu of the name Vaishvata Manu, the son of sun god
Vivasvan.
to whom Lord Krishna instructed the teachings of Bhagavad Gita prior to his teaching them to Arjuna. Mankind is the descendant of Manu. This Vaivasvata Manu had 10 sons named Ikshwaku, Nabhaga, Drishta, Saryati, Narsiyanta, Nabhaga, Drishta Karusha, Prasada, and Vasuman. The Lord's incarnation, Matsya, the gigantic fish, was invented during the beginning of Vaivasvata Manu's reign. He learned the principles of Bhagavad Gita from his father, Vivasvan, the sun god, and he re-instructed the same to his son Maharaj Ikshwaku. In the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the sun god instructed devotional service to Manu, and Manu in his turn instructed it to Ikshvaku for the welfare of the whole human society.
That's very nice. You'll see it. It keeps saying in Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if you remember in the beginning of the 4th chapter. It will detail. Arjuna asks Krishna, "Well, you're saying all of these things. How Krishna says literally, I taught this knowledge to the sun god many years ago, and then the sun god taught this to Manu, and Manu taught this to Ikshvaku, and so on. So this is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. And then Arjuna asks, well, how could you have done that? And so then Krishna details more information about who he is, and he's beyond lifetime. He has memory of beyond lifetime after lifetime, and he does this, but we don't. We forget our past lifetimes. But reincarnation is much more, you could say, stated more heavily in the Bhagavad Gita at that point. So anyway, that's kind of being mentioned here, and all these characters are in the Bhagavad Gita, Vivaswatu Manu, and Maharaj Ikshvaku, in I think only 1 or 2 verses. So now Lord Ram, Jagadish, you want to read?
I don't know if I'll follow that on the screen that well.
Meghna, you want to read? Okay, also, everyone's blind. No problem. I'm just teasing. We'll try Premananda. You want to read Premananda?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Who? This one.
Lord Ram.
Lord Ram. Good.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnated himself as Sri Ram, accepting the sonhood of his pure devotee Maharaj Dashratha, the king of Ayodhya. Lord Ram descended along with his plenary portions, and all of them appeared as his younger brothers. In the month of Chaitra, on the 9th day of the growing moon, in the Treta Yuga, the Lord appeared as usual to establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the disturbing elements. When he was just a young boy, he helped the great sage Vishwamitra by killing Subahu and striking Maricha, the she-demon, who was disturbing the sages in their daily discharge of duties. The Brahmins and Kshatriyas are meant to cooperate for the welfare of mass of people. The Brahmin sages endeavor to enlighten the people by perfect knowledge, and the Kshatriyas are meant for their protection. Lord Ramachandra is the ideal king for maintaining and protecting the highest culture of humanity, known as Brahman Dharma. The Lord is specifically the protector of the cows and the Brahmins, and hence he enhances the prosperity of the world. He rewarded the administrative demigods by effective weapons to conquer the demons through the agency of Vishwamitra. He was present in the bow sacrifice of King Janaka and breaking the invincible bow of Shiva. He married Sita Devi, daughter of Maharaj Janak. After his marriage, he accepted exile in the forest for 14 years by the order of his father Maharaj Dashrath. To help the administration of the demigods, he killed 14,000 demons, and by the intrigues of the demons, his wife Sita Devi was kidnapped by Ravan. He made friendship with Sugriv, who was helped by the Lord to kill Vali, brother of Sugriv. By the help of Lord Ram, Sugriv became the king of Vanaras, a race of gorillas. The Lord built a floating bridge of stones on the Indian Ocean and reached Lanka, the kingdom of Ravan, who had kidnapped Sita.
Can we pause here? Just in case, I know Tulsidas, you're reading this and it's like, wow, this is, we have a race of gorillas and then floating bridges and, just thought, like maybe we should add a little context to all this. In India, this is just like, this is like history, but in the West, this does, in the West, we think that this is definitely mythology, but actually,
Gorillas beforehand.
so there's like a big thing in the West now, whether 100 men could take on one gorilla. It's all over the online. I'm sure anyone scrolling on Facebook too much like me is seeing this thing. But anyway, this has to be understood from a couple perspectives here. This is how we're getting like a little bit of a very abridged version of the Ramayana, the pastime, the ancient historical pastime. There's so many wonderful lessons in the Ramayana to be
We
learned.
got Ramayana in 2 paragraphs.
Yes, Ramayana in 2 paragraphs. But for somebody who's just reading this kind of off the street of the West, like maybe me, Ben, Jagadish, we're like thinking, well, what is going on here? Yeah, there's the monkey kings, a race of gorillas. There's floating bridges, and all this. This is all detailed in the pastimes of the Ramayana. But actually, we should also be humble and not think, well, just because this is so far out to my senses, that this is impossible, this is mythology, this is, because, imagine in history, we saw in ancient culture that, oh yeah, you can talk to your friends, you can see their faces on some little tablet and, talk across the world. If they were depicting that, oh, look at these ancient historical fairy tales and things like that. We have no idea. We can't even fathom how the Wi-Fi is working and we're connecting and all these things. So, we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss something because it sounds out there. In the Bible, it talks about races of giants, and they did this, and they took all the women from the earth, and then they populated, and next thing so it seems like it's really far out. That's a wild tale. But, sometimes the truth can be stranger than fiction. We can't really fathom, what's that?
We are living a fiction.
Yes.
Far out these days.
Yeah, when you become a devotee, actually nothing is too far out because you have to admit, well, you know what? My senses are imperfect. I can literally take in 0% of reality by the modern scientific calculations. I can take in the closest whole number to how I can perceive reality, at least compared to modern technology, is 0%. So that means I shouldn't be so quick to just dismiss something or dismiss anything without trying to understand, okay, what is the essence here? And actually, if you go through the Ramayana, there's so many practical wisdoms and practical lessons that can be applied and learned that make anyone who reads it a better person. That's my personal conviction. There's so many beautiful lessons that could be taken from the Ramayana. So thank you, Piyush. But sorry, I had to interrupt just to be like, well, you know what? This might be a little out there, especially for the Western crowd. But like the Indians, yep, this is fact. No problem. But for us, this is like, wait a second. Anyhow, later on, Ravan was killed by him, and Ravan's brother Vibhishan was installed on the throne of Lanka. Vibhishan was one of the brothers of Ravan, a demon, but Lord Ram made him immortal by his blessings. That would be another one. Like, wait, what? On this expiry of 14 years after settling the affairs at Lanka, the Lord came back to his kingdom Ayodhya by flower plain. Another one. He instructed his brother Shatrughna to attack Lavnasura, who reigned at Mathura, and the demon was killed. He performed 10 Ashvamedha sacrifices, and later on he disappeared while taking a bath in the Sharayu River. The great epic Ramayana is the history of Lord Ram's activities in the world, and the authoritative Ramayana was written by the great poet Valmiki. So we just kind of got a Ramayana, as Pierce said, in 2 paragraphs. There's a lot that's going on. Flower plains, what's happening. Go through the pastime. It's very nice.
I have a just not so related, like a pastime on a Saryu, not a pastime, but a vision on a Saryu river. So Saryu river is near Ayodhya, where Lord Ram was born, and my maternal grandfather was born in Ayodhya.
Yes.
So during COVID times, he was on his bed, like in hospital, and he was like getting his out of body experiences, and he was at the Saryu river, and he said that Lord Ram standing with him on the Sari river told me, it's not your time, I'm just coming here to show you how death feels like. And
Wow.
so he was standing with Lord Ram, he said that, and next day he was relieved from the hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so that was the most chilling narration, and he always chanting Ram 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 Ram, Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram. Like he always saying it. He never greets you. He always says Sita Ram to you. So anyways, just that's the mention of Saryu River is significant because that's where Lord Ram took his samadhi or where he vanished. So he was standing with him at Saryu River, holding his hand and telling you, "This is not your end. I'm just showing you how it feels like to be dead." So that was something that.
Yes,
I'm
that's
holding your hand and taking you.
yes. That's and your grandfather is still alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. That he was on his bed. His oxygen level was dropping very fast, and he was having this experience. Next day, somehow the shots were arranged, which was given, and he recovered that very next day, and he was like, "You are good to go. Your lungs is healthy and everything."
Wow.
So
So there you go. If we were having any doubts on the authenticity of Ram, Piyush has a personal testimony in his life.
on the Saryu River, that's very important.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the day Lord Ram disappeared, and we are.
So very good, very nice, Piyush. That was a perfect way to end. So all right, that's a little bit here, and again back to the verse. They were describing Emperor Parikit would be like these great historical personalities, which are spanning literally millions of years. It's not, like, all right, well, a couple thousand years. No, like, the histories say to go back millions of years. And so it's pretty far out. Oh, it looks like one of our guests are joining us. Singha Prabhu ki jai.
Oh.
Yes,
Late night.
yes, no problem. Do you need any clarification where to shower up and all these things? Okay, this one's also open as well. If anyone wants to hop in here, no problem. Everything's there.
Thank you. Sorry for intruding.
No, we're just ending. So, Hare Krishna. All right, everyone. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.